I welcome you to another edition of our usual English classes. This class will be a class for grammar. To help you improve on your grammar, this lesson will help you to understand adjectives. I hope you will find it very interesting. So let's start. I'm sharing with you on screen the page which has this lesson about comparative and superlative adjectives. Now we want to know what comparative and superlative adjectives really are. But before we talk about them, the comparative and superlative adjectives, I will want us to actually know what adjectives are, just to take you back. Adjectives are words that describe a noun or tell us more about a noun. In other words, it describes it. Adjectives usually stand in front of a noun, right? Example, you talk about an interesting lesson. Lesson is the noun and interesting is the adjective describing it. You talk about several students. Several is another adjective that is modifying the noun student, talking about the quantity. You have a beautiful lady. The adjective beautiful is modifying the noun lady. You have lots and lots of examples. So in today's lesson, we're going to compare adjectives. When you have two people or two places or things or groups, we will see the rules that go with it, with the adjectives. When you have three or more, we will see the rules that go with that. And let's take comparative adjectives. When we talk about comparative adjectives, we are comparing two people or two places or two things or two groups. Now, what does the rule say? When you compare two people, you use ER for short adjectives. Okay? When you compare two people or places or things or groups. But when you compare two people or places or things or group with longer adjectives, you use more. You use the word more in front of the adjective. I'll give you examples so that you understand. You talk about two men. You say, this man wearing the white shirt is strong, but the man wearing the blue shirt is what? Stronger. What do? We add ER to the adjective. You want to compare two lines. This line is straight and the other one is what? Straighter than the other one. You add ER to straight. You want to compare two things, a bag of rice and a bag of cement. You say a bag of rice is heavy, but a bag of cement is heavier. What happens in this case? The adjective heavy ends in Y. So what do? We drop the Y and add I, and you add ER. That is when you compare two. Usually add ER. But let's look at longer adjectives. If you have an adjective like wonderful, you say this movie is wonderful. That is only one movie. But you want to compare the two movies. You want to compare Titanic and you want to compare Titanic to another movie. You like Titanic more. You say what? Titanic is more wonderful than the other movie I watched. You have beautiful. I take beautiful again. You want to compare two girls. This girl is beautiful. But when you compare, when you bring the second girl, you say this girl is more beautiful. Why do we use more? Because the adjective beautiful is long. Convenient. This room is convenient. Well, I think the other room in the second floor is more convenient. It is spacious, it is big, and all of those stuff. When we come to superlative adjectives, when you talk about 3 or more, you're comparing 3 or more, you add est. Remember, when it was comparative, you use only er and use more for longer adjectives. When it is superlative, you add est to the short adjectives and you add most to the longer adjectives. For example, you say this test is the easiest I have done. The adjective easy ends in y, so to make it superlative, we drop the y and add I and add est, easiest. You are comparing this test or this test to other tests, to all the other tests. It is the easiest that you have done. Okay? This student compared to the others is the cleverest. You add est. Right. Let's take some examples of longer adjectives. For longer adjectives, you add most. Right? You have wonderful. When you are comparing 3 or more, you say what? Most wonderful. Most convenient. Most expensive, for example. Use most because these adjectives are very long, right? But again, there are adjectives that are irregular. They do not follow the rules. I'll give you a few examples, like good and bad. When you're comparing 2, you say good and better. When you're comparing more than 2, you say good, better, best. Use best when it is superlative. Let's talk about bad. When you're comparing, you say this boy is bad. You compare another boy to him, you say he is worse. W-O-R-S-E. You compare 3 or more boys, you say this boy is the worst. Right. So don't forget the rules. When it is comparative, add er to the positive, to the adjective. Add more also to the adjective when the adjective is very long. For superlative, add est to short adjectives and add most when you're talking about when you are comparing 3 or more in the superlative form. Let's see this exercise quickly and have a practice. It says complete the table. Add er, est, or you add more or most as needed. Primitive, the comparative is what? More primitive, most primitive. Great, calm, wet, frightening, exciting. And number 13, we write the form of the adjective in brackets. In other words, the adjective in bracket, put it in the correct form. Israel Bradbury dash than Julius Verne was. 14, readers might think Julius Verne was the dash science fiction writer of all. 15, did Verne write dash fiction than Lewis Carroll? 16, his dash legacy of all was his influence on 20th century scientists, inventors, and explorers. Let's see the answers quickly to this exercise, right? So, primitive becomes what? More primitive, superlative, most primitive. Great, comparative, greater, superlative, greatest. Calm, comparative, calmer, superlative, calmest. Wet, comparative, wetter, superlative, wettest. Frightening, you say what? More frightening, most frightening. Exciting, you say what? More exciting, most exciting. I'll share the page for you to see it. Right? So for number 13, the instruction is that you write the correct form of the adjectives in the brackets to complete the sentences. Is Ray Bradbury? Adjective in bracket is famous. When you compare into, you add more because famous is a long adjective. So you say more famous. What about number 14? Readers might think Jules Verne was the dash science fiction writer of all, comparing Jules Verne to the other writers. So we say luckiest. The adjective in bracket is lucky. Did Verne write dash fiction than Lewis Carroll? The adjective in bracket is good. Don't forget that this is an irregular adjective, so we say better, using comparing to. For number 16, his dash legacy of all was the influence on 20th century scientists, inventors, and explorers. The adjective in bracket is important. So we're comparing his legacy to other scientists, inventors, and explorers. So we say what? Most important. Okay, so this is another very interesting lesson. I hope you find it interesting. In another lesson, I hope you will also benefit from what we've been discussing. Thank you once more.